I'm Dara Rasheed. I'm Deputy Minister for Housing, Construction, Municipalities and General Works. In the ministry, we have two sides. In the Ministry of Housing and Construction, we are practicing our normal work of giving Iraqi citizens proper housing and proper services like water, sanitation, and also mobilization, roads construction, bridges construction. This is the side of the ministry. On the side of Rifato, as you know, the size of devastation by ISIS is very huge, especially in Mosul and in the west side of Mosul, totally devastated. So we have three main, let's say, stages: short-term strategy, intermediate term, and long-term. The short-term, what includes is infrastructure like water, sanitation, and also providing basic services in the area of education and in the area of providing health services to the people of the areas for the IDPs. This stage has been designed for the IDPs to come back to the city and start their own life. Intermediate stages to offer the people who their houses have been devastated, to give them a proper housing for them to come back, and then in the meantime to provide them with employment. In that sense, we depend on certain ministries like Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs to provide people with proper vocational training, and then also to find them jobs. And as you know, by reconstructing that area, a lot of workforce is needed so people can work and can get their economic life to a better standard. And in the meantime, we have also we work on the social integration, because as you know, ISIS as an evil force has created a lot of extremism and also affected the people psychologically. So we need psychotherapy. In that we need NGOs to come in and help, an international community also from United Nations or other organizations to come in and help people so that we maintain the social integrity, and also to do some psychotherapy for the victims of this ISIS evil work. Because they have a lot of Yazidis, for example, in Mosul being missed. They are not there anymore. Their families are suffering from this kind of deprivation. So we need psychotherapy for these people. On the long-term side, we have ancient, and also in the middle term, we have to provide housing as well for the people to come back. In the long term, we need international organizations like UN to enter for ancient sites to be, because a lot of ancient sites and mosques and also archaeological sites been devastated. So we need their experience and their help in, because that's a huge work. It can't be done by the Iraqis themselves. We need consultation and also guidelines from those organizations to come and work on this basis. We have plenty of time for this to carry on, because this is not affecting directly the people. It affects the culture and the heritage and the state of Iraq, which is very important also, but that's been categorized in the long-term strategy. When Rifato started its work, it started in 2015. It was when the barrel of oil was in its lowest prices, and that we faced with a very big economic difficulty to maintain, to get money so that we can renovate or work in the devastated areas. But now, fortunately, the price of oil has risen, and with a. I want to tell you one thing. You know, in Iraq, ISIS, when attacked Iraq, the Iraqi people fought ISIS on behalf of the whole international community. So then, the governments and the people outside Iraq, they formed a coalition, military coalition to fight ISIS. So that coalition succeeded in its job. As a moral obligation of the international community now is to come to Iraq and enter in reconstructing the areas been devastated, or the human being which has been affected by ISIS evilish thoughts, to come and interfere and help the Iraqis and create an alternative coalition of reconstruction and social stability for the people of Iraq and the areas which has been subjected to ISIS. This is very important. We face a lot of challenges. The challenges is because Iraq's economy, after all these wars and after 35 years of dictatorship, Iran war, for example, a lot of political disagreements, like the sectarial problems. So all these things came one after another. So there wasn't a time for Iraq to recover from all these economic, let's say, downs. So in order for the economy in Iraq to come back to its normal stages, we need help, economic help from world, and that's why we are trying to sort it out within loans or grants from other countries. For example, Kuwait has given us $100 million grant for the health sector, for rebuilding the clinics. Czech Republic given us $10 million, for example, that will be used for tools for the municipalities. For example, we have a World Bank loan which totals now to $350 million. We use that for roads and bridges reconstruction and other infrastructure. Loan by 500 million euros by KfW, which is a loan depending on the sovereignty guarantors. That has been the first stage of that being signed a couple of days ago. It was 150 million euro, 50 million euro for water and sanitation, 50 million euro for electricity projects, and 50 million for roads and bridges construction. We have the plans for 2017-2018, which has been passed, 2018, and we have plans for 5 years ahead for those projects to be done, and we are trying to give priority to the projects mostly needed. So in that sense, we are successful until now, and I hope that everything goes fine with the projects we have and with the monies we have from the government too as well. We have from the government's budget also some money has been allocated for investment projects and for acting projects. I was privileged in participating in the IBBC retreat in Iraq. This is my 3rd time attending this retreat in Cumberland Lodge. There were other meetings which I have attended in Mansion House in London. I see that IBBC is working heavily on the matters concerning Iraq, and they have gained a very wide and good experience in dealing with Iraqi matters. So they are putting forward to British companies, and they are acting like a bridge of, let's say, follow-up and also a bridge of communication between the Iraqi government and the Iraqi companies, businessmen, and the British government and the British businessmen. So I will congratulate them for their role, especially Baroness Nicholson, a good friend of mine. She is a person who knows Iraq very well, who worked for Iraq in the difficult times when Iraq was under the control of Saddam Hussein. So I congratulate her for participating and involving such a heavily role in Iraqi matters, and to bring the Iraqi economy back to its original level, and help the Iraqi people always. I remember Baroness Nicholson in 1989, she was helping the Iraqi poor people in the marshes, and she has a book on that, The West and the Marshes, which I was fortunately privileged to be in the launching day in the Parliament when she launched her book, and I was so proud of that, and proud of also IBBC and also Ammar Foundation, which she's heading it, which is an international humanitarian organization. They've done a lot for Iraq. They've done a lot for the disabled and the people who in need in Iraq, which I congratulate them for that. The journey of mile will start with a step. I think in Iraq, with regard to the democracy, we have cut a lot of steps towards democracy. I don't expect democracy in Iraq to be democracy in the UK or in any European country. But I know for sure that in Iraq we have traveled a long way towards democracy. We have got rid of dictatorship, and now at least people can choose their own leaders and their own politicians to serve them, no matter what happens. I know there is a lot of talks about cheating and things like that, but I think that's all exaggerated. I know people in Iraq, they go to the ballots and they vote, but there might be some differences in the ways of counting the votes or whatsoever. But no matter how it goes on, at least the people have the right to choose the people who serve them politically, and to choose the government represents them, and put them forward to a better life, and to create a democratic society in Iraq. I'm very optimistic about achieving that, despite all these negativenesses.